Welcome to Expose, Prepare, Connect, a scalable program for post-secondary success in non-urban locations. Thank you for joining us today. This will be a very conversational presentation. My name is Brent Johnson. I'm joined by my colleagues, Candace Marler and Casey Atkins. First things first, we're recording this on a high school campus during the middle of a school day. You may hear bells. You may hear interruptions from announcements. There might be a knock on our door. You never can tell. As educators, I hope you can appreciate that. A bit of self-introduction. My name is Brent Johnson. I did not come about to education, the traditional route. I have a degree in finance. I've had several jobs in the private sector and actually started as a career coach at Corinth High School simply because I felt like I had done everything else, so I'd be a great career coach. I can tell you what to do and not to do in the various career paths. I have transitioned into the classroom now, and I'm working on a degree at my doctorate in education. And that's kind of my background and who I am. I'll let Candace introduce herself, and then we'll go to Casey.
Thank you, Brent. Hi, I'm Candace Marler, and I also do not have a traditional education background. My background is in biology and chemistry, and where I have spent the majority of my career has been in the healthcare field with an emphasis in human resources. That while working with human resources, I had the opportunity to work with our job applicants with our local hospital, and while working with those applicants, that I noticed that there were quite a few deficits when it would come to their applications, their resumes, how applicants would present themselves. So after speaking with Brent and Casey and some of our school leadership, then when an opportunity presented itself to make a career change to a career coach, I thought, what a wonderful opportunity to work with our future workforce before they go through that application process, rather than trying to help those after the fact.
My name is Casey Atkins. Thank you. Thank you for being with us today. I did not come from an education background either. I spent several years in sales after I got an associate's degree from Northeast, and married, had children, and decided to go back to school. Many years later, I actually took another path other than a traditional major and minor. I actually have 3 minors in education, psychology, and legal studies with heavy emphasis in marketing. This was done several years later, but I'm so thankful that I did it because I was able to get my degree and apply for this position. I never imagined myself working in education, honestly, because I did love the many years I spent in sales, but I'm so thankful for this position, and I hope you take a lot away from this, because we love what we do here as career coaches. And Brent, if you want to move to the next slide.
Thanks, Casey and ladies. So this is maybe one thing we should talk on first. What is a career coach? Here in Mississippi, we have the career coaching model that's been scaled. We actually gave a very similar presentation. This is the national level not too long ago, and that's not something that's happened at the national level all out. It's something that's Mississippi's actually leading in. And so we basically have designed what we've done, depending on where you are in the state, your interaction with career coaches, and where you are in your educational profession, your interaction with career coaches may be different. It may be positive, may be negative. You may be going, what the heck is a career coach? All right. I think when any 3 of us took these roles as career coaches, we were also probably asking the same question. So first of all, it's there on the slide, but I'll read it for you. Career coaches function as a liaison for students while partnering with local businesses and industry. We introduce opportunities and utilize resources for students while supporting workforce development in our region. There's a 3-pronged approach to that: exposure or expose, preparation or prepare, and then connection or connect. We'll talk about each of those in detail as we go along, but that's the overarching goal or approach to this. So I'll let Casey talk about exposure.
Okay, and so through the exposure piece, we have been able to, and I think, Brent, we started this back in 21 when we were just coming back from COVID, and we've tried this several different ways, but we have a little program called Snack Chat, where we invite guest speakers to come into the school and talk about what a day in the life is like. in their profession, whether it be, we've had industry leaders, we've had small business owners, we've had just an array of business people. We have tried to cover all of the 16 career clusters. And so we typically have them on Wednesdays, and they come in and they speak during our EFA time, which is Enrichment for All. And so they come in and they can either talk to a large group of students, or they can speak with a small collective group of students. But that's worked really well for us, I think, and it's grown quite a bit. I remember when there were times when we had just a few people, and then it just kind of grew since that time, since 21. Especially, I think we started it over video, did we not? Do we have some Zoom
Correct.
sessions?
So that's actually accurate. We did some, due to the COVID protocols we've all lived through, a lot of these initial sessions were virtual sessions. And while I don't think any of us want to go back to that particular time in education or our lives, that was actually really cool because it opened the door for a lot of opportunities. We could bring in someone from further away who wouldn't be able to make the trip to campus for a 30-minute session, but they could Zoom in, and we're familiar with that, right? So that worked out well. And I guess one thing maybe I should have mentioned before we really started into this presentation is this works where we are, and this works in our community. It may not work well in your community, but you can find things to do in your community. None of this was here when we started. It's kind of been built from the ground up with the help from a lot of people. So if you see something we're doing and you're like, that would never work in my community, that might be true, but you also never know till you try. And I think Candace is going to talk about some more aspects of this exposure piece. But the reality is, don't get discouraged by seeing what we're doing and thinking, I can never do that, or I don't have that kind of support, or I don't have those resources, or whatever. The reality is all of this started very, very small and has snowballed. And so just taking that first step forward, we all know is the hardest, but it does work. So we can continue the presentation, but that's something I probably should have said really to start the whole thing.
Yeah, and I think also along the same lines is identify your resources. Within your school district, within your community, within your industries, and it's all about building partnerships that we rely on, bouncing ideas off of each other. It's about the community involvement. Like Brent said, start small, but then ask for partners, and that again, building those relationships, and then the programs can start to grow and those seeds are planted. So another opportunity that we had for exposing some of our students was this past summer. We were able to secure a grant to cover the expenses of taking a group of 13 students on a college campus tour that we were tasked with going outside of our immediate geographic region, but we did want to stay within the state of Mississippi because it offered additional resources through MAP and for securing funding for our students. So we went to a variety of different universities that ranged in size and demographics, from private universities to public institutions, again, different geographic areas within the state, that it was a really eye-opening experience because a lot of the students who signed up for our trip had never even been outside of the city limits, and much less they'd never stayed in a hotel overnight. But that all of the students who participated in this event all have the GPA and the ACT testing scores to be accepted into the schools and the programs in which we visited. So again, it was about exposing them to opportunities that they might not have realized that they're available to them, and to again trying to get them more than just seeing a virtual college tour, that actually going and walking the campus, meeting other students who are currently enrolled there, talking with the admissions counselors, and finding out, how, if I'm really interested in this, how am I going to make this happen? How do I make this work?
Going on with the business and industry tours, we've been blessed for them to open their doors to us. We've been able to take large groups and then smaller groups to some of the business and industry in Northeast Mississippi. Last year, we took a collective group of students who were interested in Hago Automotive, and we took them, and we actually had a student from Corinth High School to sign with them, and now is in their first logistics program, their first apprenticeship program in logistics that was offered last year. And so that was really exciting for us. You can see in the slide we're at Northrop Grumman, and that was a really exciting visit as well. But it takes a lot of time and preparation to make these visits, to get them set up. Business and industry, if there's anyone listening and has those connections, if you want to mention career connections, that's really important. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But I think these business and industry tours, especially for small groups, I think is almost more beneficial than for larger groups.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
When you get that small kind of dialed in population of students that expresses an interest in the subject area or in that particular career cluster, their engagement is just going to be so much higher than if you're just offering it, to an entire, classroom or an entire, larger group. That we just have such a good response when we do those really intentional groups.
And we've always called it a success if it reaches that one student, out of a group of 10 or even out of a group of 50. Then that's a win for everybody, for sure.
As you can tell, we're all three very passionate about this. So we have several slides to get through today. I hope that we don't bore you all, but stick with us. We're going to take our time and go through it, but we'll try and pick up the pace a little bit. We all are very passionate about this, though. The next step from exposure is preparation. There are 4 things kind of listed here. We can each take a turn talking about them or discussing them a bit. One of the big things, though, that I find really that's been beneficial is the senior prep day event. This is actually one of the things when I came on board as the first career coach in our school prior to Casey starting a little bit later. My principal at the time had been in a different school where he saw a similar event happen, and he kind of tasked me with doing this or putting this on. And once again, I started, we brought career coaching to Corinth High School right after COVID. We were on NBC News because we run a non-traditional schedule, and we were one of the first schools to start back after COVID. So this is that's the time frame we're working in. And he said, "Hey, I've been at this other school. I saw this thing where kids did speed interviews, and students were able to get the resume work, and they were able to meet with industry leaders, and they did all these things, and it was really, really cool. And I think you should try and do that." And I'm the new guy on campus, and I'm trying to impress my boss, and I'm trying to be a team player, but I'm also going, hey, we're in COVID. Like we got kids on quarantine for 2 weeks at a time. So we got to work through this. But it's grown, and it's been super awesome. We have some pictures of it later on. But it started off with a virtual Zoom session. Like Casey said, we brought our seniors in. We set them down. We got a really cool guy who works in an emerging industry, and he was able to Zoom in with us. We had a couple of industry leaders be able to come in a distance format, and it was it was really the first thing we did where we said, hey, there's more out there than maybe what you realize, and this is possible, okay? And we learned a lot from that event. I learned a lot from that event. Casey did as she came on board, and that was kind of we both have a real passion for that, though, because it was our first thing we did, okay? And so our senior prep day has now morphed into having industry leaders come in and do speed interviews, community people coming in and talking about banking and finance and what it means to budget and how to build your personal brand, and an inspirational speaker kind of thing. But this is all part of this, working on resumes and all that. It's all kind of a capstone effort in the senior prep day. And it's something that, honestly, it's very difficult now. I don't want to say difficult. It's a large project now, but it's also very low cost. It's very implementable, and I can see this being something that literally no matter where you are in the state or the region or wherever, something like this, at least on a small scale, is very much implementable. So I'll let these ladies talk about some of the other things we do, but the preparation side of things, that's something you can do that's really, really has a huge impact.
Yeah, I think the key to a successful senior prep day event is going to be your community buy-in. You've got to have the support from your community, or something like this is not might not work well in your school. We are so fortunate to have the administration that we work for, to have the community, small business, and industry. Like I said before, they've always had an open door. They're so receptive of this. I mean, last year we sent out a Google form to see how they liked it and what they, thought that we could do better this next year. And we asked that question, is this something that you would be a part of again? And every single one, it was a no-brainer. Yes, call me. I love this. This is so great. So it's really exciting.
And I hate to interrupt, Casey. I know we have to keep rolling, but if that's not your situation, please take heart in the fact that a small step will grow. We know there are a lot of people out there who don't have supportive admins and who don't have a lot of community buy-in, that sort of stuff. Take that first step. I promise you, it will reap benefits exponentially. So sorry to take that away.
It's okay, for sure. This year, we actually, after Senior Prep Day event, we had our college application day, where our local junior college at Northeast Mississippi Community College came in and actually helped students complete their college application. So we encourage everybody to do that, whether or not they plan on attending Northeast. They could be attending going straight to a university, or they may not know what they want to do, but it's good. It's good practice. It's good experience, and they were very helpful that day. It was a very big day, for sure.
Indeed.
Yes. Now, we also have an event called Future Forward Academy that is geared more for our underclassmen. This is an event that was started or created by our local Chamber of Commerce. That the Career Coaches have an opportunity to partner with our chamber as well as local volunteers in order that we've created our own curriculum to, again, address kind of those deficits and those soft skills that we want to instill in our students. So each of our local schools, not only from the Corinth School District, but also the Alcorn County School District, each principal of the 8th grade selects a group of students to participate in our event. That we meet once a year, and so again we started with 8th grade, and that we focus on soft skills, we focus on manners, we have a session that's how to tie a tie, how to do a handshake, the importance of eye contact. We did some feedback or received feedback from the students that they enjoyed the event so much they begged us, can we please continue to do this again the next year? And so that it has been such a success, and it is growing. So therefore, we now will have the participants from 8th grade. They are invited back to participate again their 9th grade year, and we're about to do our first ever event with that same group that are now in 10th grade. And so each year we pick up a new group of 8th graders, and then again start the curriculum all over with that new group. So it's been really successful, and again it's those skills that we just really want to make sure that our students are focusing on.
Great. These are all awesome things that we've implemented. Now, these are all kind of organically grown things that have happened. Obviously, let's talk about two things really quick, and I'll take these. The FAFSA and ASVAB. Now, it's if you're listening to this later, the FAFSA has already dropped, hopefully. We're recording this quite early. The new FAFSA is rolled out, and there are hiccups. We know that's going to happen, and there are improvements. So, but we help students walk through this process of the free application for student aid. Like, what does that look like? My mama doesn't want to give me her tax info. Why? All that kind of stuff. We help them walk through that process. What if I'm undocumented? What if my parents don't have a social? What if I live out of state? Whatever that is. We help them walk through that process. Also, with that, the MAP is also a part of that. And then our ASVAB, that's a qualifier or the entry thing, for our military. We walk students through that option so that they're able to see all these different avenues and ways to connect. As much as exposure is one piece, the preparation for the next level is a big thing.
Before we go on to the next slide, U-Science is an assessment. Probably most of you who are watching this are familiar with U-Science, and some of you also have Major Clarity. We have U-Science this year, and that we're spending a lot of time with our sophomores right now to get them to take that assessment, because as you know, it is a partnership. It's a merriment between your aptitude, which is what you're naturally gifted at, and what your interests are. And I love this assessment So we're working on that, but then we're going to go and we're going to also introduce Imagine the Possibilities to them that is going on now through February, through Wellspring, which is great because then after they cover their U Science, after they finish that assessment, as a career coach, we want to have that one-on-one with them to say, okay, what did your assessment show? Healthcare. Let's watch some mentor for a minute videos with someone in Northeast Mississippi in your own backyard who works in that profession and see where it goes from there. And so that's kind of the order that we've decided to go in this year. And then also going back to the FAFSA, those hard questions that sometimes we can't answer, we rely heavily on Get to College. We love them.
That's just
It's
another
a great partnership.
That's a great partnership here in the state of Mississippi. Get to College and the crew, they are invaluable to us. Now, I'm a classroom teacher now. My grandfather was a pastor. We've been talking for about 20 minutes, and you haven't seen our faces. So I guarantee you're out on your cell phone because it's 2024 at this point, right? So go ahead and take that cell phone, pick it up, point it at this QR code, and scan that. Now, don't watch the video now, but it's going to take you to YouTube, and that's going to talk about. It's actually a testimonial from one of our from our student. From an Imagine the Possibilities student. That's what Casey just alluded to with the U Science, or in some people's case, major clarity situation. And if you're in the north part of Mississippi, you've probably heard of Imagine the Possibilities. This is actually a regional event where community members, industry leaders, employers of all sorts gather in a central location a lot of times, or used to be gather in a central location, and would have like a career fair of sorts for students. That's not really how we do it anymore. Now it's much more virtual. But the idea is these students use their, whether it's major clarity or their U Science aptitudes and interests, they then create for themselves an environment where they can learn more about these different career paths, these different career clusters. I would say that after this is over, please watch that video. It's super awesome, and there are tons of them out there talking about how really impactful this is for our students. So we'll keep sliding right along. Our next slide is really goes back to some things that we've alluded to before, so we won't spend a ton of time here. But this is a picture from 2023. This was our senior prep day, and this is all of our community leaders who came in to volunteer. I can talk you through this. You can see some people in uniform there. You see people that dress as business people, all that kind of thing. These people represent industries in our area. They represent banks and other fast food workers and military people and all this kind of stuff. And this has grown. Okay, this is, like I said, this is a growing thing. I can credit my other two career coaches who are here who have taken this over as I transitioned out. But this doesn't happen. None of the things we do happen without this community buy-in. So we're really appreciative of all those people and what exactly they represent. I'm going to let them talk while we click through a couple more slides on showing the community support of the senior prep day.
Well, and one thing that I would like to mention is that with that community support, that we also make sure that we ask for feedback, not only from our students and participants, but also from our volunteers, that we try to then tailor the curriculum and the subject to what needs to be addressed. That, you know, we're asking our employers, what deficits are you seeing? What soft skills are we needing to address? What would you like to see? What is the workforce lacking? And so we try to make that a focus, as well as we ask our students, because we want to make sure that it's really engaging and entertaining for our students, as well as educational. And so we've really received very positive feedback, but also whenever we do get something that maybe it might need to be addressed, then we adapt. And so again, I think that feedback is a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm. And these are just a couple of pictures. The first picture is, I think that was in regards to that's
brand building, I think, where the students start.
Personal branding. The second was a game that some of you have probably heard of called Fab Life, a financial literacy game. I love the third photo where you can see all of the volunteers lined, they're sitting and doing the interviews with the students. And we timed this to where each student had a 20-minute interview, and that included feedback. So it wasn't really a speed interview, a 5-minute quickie, right, and then they moved on. They got to sit with this person and really have a really good conversation with feedback. Our students provided a general application. They brought resumes. They dressed up. I was just really impressed. I know you were too.
I was too. Yes.
It was a lot of hard work, but we just really had a great time.
And one other thing that I love that was set up by Casey and possibly Brent even before I arrived as a career coach is I love that they integrate our culinary arts program into this as well. That they use our culinary arts students to prepare breakfast for not only our volunteers, but also all of the senior students are invited to partake as well. And then we have boxed lunches that we send with our community volunteers as a thank you for donating their time and their resources to be there. So again, it's another way of keeping cost low, but also building an additional partnership even within our school community.
I think there's two parts that we need to hop off on that is Candace just said about the culinary arts. Unfortunately, I did not have the culinary arts program when I started the event, but it has grown into that and it's morphed. The cool thing about that is too, it's an additional exposure piece. Students that are in that culinary arts program who are undergrads, they see this senior event happening and they see what's going on and they're very interested in it and they start to ask questions. It's providing another inroad to these students who we might not normally reach for whatever reason. And that just helps with the exposure and the portion of that. It means the next year they're even more excited for it when they get to take part. And additionally, one thing Casey didn't mention and that we could get lost in the details here, when we do these interviews, and I did call them speed interviews kind of incorrectly, but we try our best. It's not always for sure thing, but we try our best. Like, for example, if a student is interested in healthcare and we have someone from our local hospital or healthcare provider doing an interview session, we try and match them up so it's something that will definitely benefit them down the road. That isn't always possible, but it is just that extra step that helps to go a long way. And this is just a program that, once again, is morphing and growing, and it started very, very small. So it's awesome to see that happening. Mm-hmm. This next slide right here, and we won't spend a ton of time on this as well, but this is talking about parental buy-in. We're in an awesome district. We have a ton of parental buy-in across our spectrum, across our demographics, across our socioeconomic statuses, okay? But this is a testimonial from one of our parents. It says, a large part to special interview prep with Miss Candace Marler. Parker was awarded the Lucky Day Scholarship. He was the recipient of the Hagen Scholarship and essentially pays for all the college expenses. This is from Jennifer and Jason Legoff, some of our parents who, this is Parker's first year as a freshman at Mississippi State. I personally kind of wish he would have chosen a different school, but hey, it is what it is. I understand it's a divided thing. But this is just an example. Last year, with his graduating class of about 150, just for example, in merit-based aid, not just in need-based aid, but in merit-based aid, we were, what was the total? I'm looking to my colleagues here.
2.4.
Close, a little over 2 million divided amongst 150 students to attend. And a lot of these students, a lot of our students, like a lot of students in Mississippi, are attending, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Southern, some of our community colleges. Obviously, the schools here in state, we do have some go out of state and go to military academies and things of that nature. But because of the prep they receive from career coaching, they are much more prepared for the next step, and many opportunities are opened up because of the prep they receive.
Well, one thing that I just want to mention briefly about this particular student is he had the merits, he had the grades that he was meeting and exceeding all of the criteria, but he is also extremely introverted and shy. And that also can be a great leader, that you can be a very quiet leader, but that he had never really been through a formal interview process, and that we just were able to sit down to help him to feel more comfortable for going into that situation. So, I mean, the chances are he probably was going to have plenty of opportunities with scholarships, but that for this particular one that required face-to-face interview as well as writing essays and doing other applications, that this one he needed a little extra practice.
Right. And it's not just about college. I'm going to let Casey talk about these next couple because these are kind of her babies, if you will. But we've talked about college because that's where a lot of students are going, but here's some opportunities you see on the screen now with some students that were not necessarily college bound or were maybe taking just a different path.
Yeah, this next one, we're going back to the student that I was talking about that went with the small group to Hago Automotive, and this is Jackson Laster. And his mom knew that he didn't really necessarily want to go straight to college. She didn't know if he really wanted to go to college at all, and he didn't either. But this is a win-win because he is actually in the logistics program. He is working. He's working part-time, and he's going to college part-time. So it's both, and he's getting paid really great money to be a part of this apprenticeship program. And it's a 4.5 maybe year program, but he's going to come out. He'll have his associate's degree. I'll read what she said. Not only did Jackson join the workforce, he got the opportunity to participate in the logistics apprenticeship while getting a degree in the process. I'm very appreciative, and just the look on her face makes me so happy for that family because he's really thriving. Hayden Robbins, same situation. He really wanted to be a part of the IBEW program. I actually reached out to him this week. He's working about 50 hours a week. He goes to school one night a week, but the rest of the time he's working, and he said, I just really feel a strong connection and a part of something so much bigger, and he's really happy. It's great.
And these are both students. I mean, all three of these, Parker, Jackson, and Hayden, these are all students that just are in our life, and they may have come across these opportunities themselves, but the reality is because we had a formalized plan for the process, we know they're in their best situation, right? Mm-hmm. That leads us to our next point, which is just connection. We've already talked a little bit about the apprenticeship program, which it looks different everywhere you are. You almost have to have some industry in your area to help that through. So for us at Hago Automotive is very close. Caterpillar and Kimberly-Clark also have similar opportunities for a lot of our students. That's in our local area. Depending on where you are, I'll name some big industries in Mississippi that I know of. If you're down on the coast, you may have things with the shipyard with Ingalls, or in the Jackson metro area, there's a variety of industries, dealing with, I know there's some development out in Clinton with like tire plants and that sort of thing. Up in the north central part of the state, we have things like Toyota, and that there are industries all across the state that may have different apprenticeships, but the ultimate thing is just getting those students out there and having that, building those networks, because these apprenticeship programs existed prior to us being around. They just weren't being exploited, and no students were going into them because they didn't have a way to get to the students. We're really serving as a liaison between the two. So apprenticeships is a big deal. Job shadows and opportunities. Our next slide actually has a little bit of a video about that, a student who went through this process. And then obviously this is all, that goes into, once again, community connections as well. Part-time positions. Hey, everybody knows, and McDonald's gets a bad rap because everybody wants to be a part-time employee and fry French fries, right? But what if you're what if you really are interested in culinary and that gets you in the door? Or if you're really interested in going to veterinary medicine, what if a career coach has an opportunity with a local veterinary clinic or something like that? What if your part-time position that you have in high school to pay for gas and movie tickets or whatever it is, what if that could help you get into a career that you're looking into? And then we talk about internships as well, obviously very closely related to apprenticeships and that sort of thing. So let me go to this next slide, and without any tech issues, maybe we can hear from Alexandria, our students. Let's get this play real quick.
Hi, my name is Alexandria Williams, and I am interested in healthcare. And because of career coaching, they gave me the opportunity to shadow at Magnolia Regional Health Center, where I got to be in the labor and delivery unit, where they showed me the basics of what goes on with charting and everything like that. And I also got to go to the ER and see some pretty gruesome things. So I know not to go, and I learned what I really would like to do. And also, after shadowing, I talked to Miss Casey Atkins, and I am really excited about going into a paid internship program.
Okay, so that's just a student of ours. Alexandria is a great student that graduated 2 years ago now, and she did the things that we asked her to do. She said, she came and met with us. We organically met her, built a relationship through her freshman year, and she started doing these things that we asked. The exposure pieces, hey, what's out there? The preparation piece, like take the U Science assessment. Can we get you hooked up with someone and maybe do like just a snack chat session, something like that? And then we started plugging her in. And Casey did a great job with Alexandria of saying, hey, this is out here for a 1-day shadow, and then can we get you into another opportunity? And the last I heard from Alexandria, she's at our local community college.
She's at the W.
She's at the W.
She's at the W. Sorry. She's at the W there in Columbus and is majoring in nursing. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe got a pretty substantial scholarship to be able to attend the W based on some of the things she had done that obviously qualified her for some additional scholarships and made her competitive in that process. So that's just a live testimonial of what can happen just through these things.
And it starts.
I apologize.
And it starts early because we need to start getting to know these students, even at an 8th grade level, which is great for our FFA program. But the one-on-one conversations that we have with students every day, beginning at a freshman level, we've decided to split our classes. So depending on the size of your high school or where you are, or if you're a career coach listening to this, Candace and I actually split the classes, and so that way we can follow our students from freshman year all the way up through their senior year and really build that relationship in order to help them to get the exposure and the preparation and the connections that they need.
If I may, let me say something really quickly about that. And Casey and Candace have done a great job building relationships. I don't want to speak too much about myself, but I'm a coach as well. Okay, so I coach some athletic teams. A big thing that happened, like I said multiple times, I started right after COVID. I was the guy that took their temperatures every morning when they came into school. It was about a month into school, and someone asked me if I was a physician, and I realized I really need to do a better job of I guess they thought that we had hired a full-time doctor to address COVID. I really don't know. So, but
we should have gotten you a white coat.
Yeah, I should have had a white coat and probably a substantial pay raise if any of my admin is listening. But it is what it is. But if I had a career coach in high school, I could have done that, right? I would have been in the medical field. Yes. Anyway, here I am. But so anyway, my point being, building those relationships as early as the Future Forward Academy starting in 8th grade, or as we don't do it. I hate to say we don't do a ton with freshmen. Freshmen on the campus, they're learning who they are. They're figuring out different things. They've got a really set number of classes they're taking, and their free time is limited. But a lot of what we do with freshmen is saying hey in the morning.
Yes.
Welcome them to campus.
Yes.
Monitoring a class while a teacher has a parent conference or something like that, just to help build some rapport. And once they see you around more, and maybe go into a baseball game or a basketball game or showing up to a play or whatever, because when those students see you involved in their lives, especially at that freshman and sophomore level, they're going to start opening up to you more. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest, even today, I teach mainly seniors and juniors today. There are freshmen who walk in my door every day that I don't know their names, but I'm nice to them and I say hey to them and I'm trying to be involved. And the next thing I know, they're asking me questions about what classes they should sign up for next year and that sort of thing. And it just goes to show that building some rapport at the young level really does reap benefits as you look into into your senior prep day events and your job shadows and those junior and senior experiences. So sorry to take that time, but we can talk about some shadow experiences as well. We got quite a few.
I love the job shadows. It offers an opportunity for our students to actually spend a couple of hours or even sometimes a couple of days in the actual work environment, to where they get that on-the-job, hands-on experience. Now, with our job shadows, it is typically supposed to be an observation only. But you might have a student that says, okay, I know I want a career in healthcare, but I really don't know, should I apply for like radiology school or occupational therapy? There's so many different possibilities. And that just because they have seen something on TV or on the computer computer that sometimes, until they're actually immersed in the environment, they really don't have a full grasp or understanding of if it is going to be a good fit for them. I know that I mentioned earlier that my background's in healthcare, and that we had an nursing student who was actually doing his clinicals rotations within the hospital, and he had never really spent any time in the nursing actually having clinicals until he was actually in nursing school. And once he got around the sight and the smells especially, he realized, I'm not cut out to be a nurse. Well, he had already invested not only resources of money, but he had invested a lot of his time into pursuing a degree that now he's not going to be able to finish or use. And so that's part of our goal of these shadowing experiences. Is it's great if we have that aha light bulb moment with the student where they're like, yes, I love this. But it also can be really eye-opening if they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, because I do not want to do that. And then again, that can be just as large of a moment for them.
That's what
like Alexandria, when she got to go to the ER, and she mentioned in her video, got to see some gruesome things and learned that is not for her.
Absolutely.
So it's a win-win.
Right. And I've told multiple students, like, hey, if you know you don't want to do that, that's definitely one thing off the board, right? That's definitely a win is doing that. What's really cool that we see these job shadows turn into here on this slide is shadows to jobs. We have 3 different individuals here. These are just a couple of examples, or a few examples of our job shadows that they did go and they experienced these jobs at different locations for a day or a couple of days. And then those individuals had opportunities, or those businesses had employment opportunities, part-time opportunities. And we've got one of our young ladies here who wants to go into veterinary, be a vet tech. She was actually able to start a position with our local veterinary clinic, being a dog washer. I mean, that seems very... It's related though, right? You can see that. She's in the veterinary clinic. She's making money. She's earning. She's being around the animals. And the next thing you know, she may be there. Whatever that next step is towards being a vet tech, she's able to see it. Our machine. We had a guy who wanted to go in the machine shop and welding and that sort of thing. Same thing here in the middle picture. And then a guy who definitely wanted to go in constructions and trades and that sort of thing. He's like, hey, I've got a friend, or if it becomes an uncle or someone who's already doing some construction work. I think I'd like to go to work for him. And we were actually able to line it up for him to get some additional experience, start to work for that guy. And he's actually making some decent money right now, and has learned that is indeed what he wanted to go into.
And when we send our students out for shadowing, we do qualify the students. That we want to first make sure that, if they're going to take time out of the classroom, are they passing their classes? What is their attendance? That are they do they have a satisfactory attendance record? And then we also look to make sure that they're not an excessive disciplinary problem, because that anytime there's students going out into the community and representing our high school, we want to make sure that they're going to represent our high school in the best light possible.
That's true. And of course, we want to always highlight that we are doing, not just college bound, not just apprenticeships. We are doing everything we can to help every student find their best path. I want to shout this one out because, like I said, I'm a coach, and these next 2 slides, if you ladies don't mind. No. This is America Aguilar. This you'll see obviously here, U.S. Army signing day. America approached us in her junior year and was considering the military, and through our relationship we have with our local Army recruiter, she was actually able to attend her basic training, which is not the right term for it anymore. It's called something else, introductory training, something like that. But she actually attended her basic training in the summer between her junior and senior years. Now, we run a non-traditional schedule here at Corinth High School. We actually go into June, and we start back a little earlier, and then we have larger breaks for fall and spring break. We were able to work with our administration and make that work. Like I said, big support from our admin is a huge key here. But this helped America to get her foot in the door. She really knew that's what she wanted to do. She was on one of my athletic teams, and I really did miss her in summer workouts and her leadership. But when I tell you that she came back as a better leader when she got to the Army basic training, it was very, very true. And then at the end of her senior year, she was actually able to immediately go into her individualized training. She is attending college right now, but this is giving her an opportunity to really change her family's outlook in life. I will tell a brief story that probably, I don't know, just for reference, it seems like America joining the Army would be like the ultimate patriot story, right? Because
Right.
America, USA,
Right.
go Army. Fun fact: her family is actually huge Club America, Liga Mexicana fans, and she was actually named after a Mexican soccer club, not after the United States. So I have always picked at her about that, and she laughs about it and says, "Coach Johnson," but it's a really cool thing. But this is America, and then our next one, also one of my athletes, Julio Aguelo. He's the oldest of 4 brothers, and they all look exactly alike, and they all have really, really good soccer skills. But Julio said, "Hey, my parents." He was talking to me one day on the soccer field. He said, "Hey, my parents don't have really the resources to send me to school like I'd like to. I'd like to be able to get out and earn some money and help them out. Also, he's a really good cross country runner. He had the opportunity to go run at some schools, but they were not going to be full scholarship. And he said, I really think the military might be for me, coach." And I said, all right, let's talk about it. And we started a conversation. Talked about some different branches. I think Miss Casey also spoke with him a bit and talked about some different things. But we ultimately talked to different recruiters, and our local recruiter, Staff Sergeant Austin, shown here in the photo with Julio after he returned from basic training. He was able to get him hooked up, and it's almost as soon as he graduated, he was off to Paris Island. He has returned a couple of times to campus and is encouraging other students to really get involved in this process and say, hey, go talk to a career coach. Yes, the military is an awesome option for Julio, and it is a lot of awesome option for a lot of students, but he's honestly being a testimonial, as is America, as in Jackson, as in Parker, as in all of these kids we've shown you, about what career coaching can do and how it can make an impact and a difference. And so I'm really proud of these last 2, especially because they have been my athletes. But it just goes to show you that people from all walks of life, all opportunity levels, all exposure, they can all use a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of coaching.
So we've talked a lot about what we do, but what is our ultimate goal? Our outcome is we want to make sure that every student has an opportunity to enroll, enlist, and employ. So again, it's about doing those aptitude tests. It's about doing the one-on-ones to actually listen to our students, talk to them, find out where their interests lie, and then how do we correlate that? How does that correlate into a successful career pathway? So again, whether that be college, military, or going directly into the workforce, it's making sure that our students are as prepared for their future as possible.
And I think working closely with parents, again, there is, when we talk about what do you want to do after high school, and they say, well, my parents want me to go to college. I don't know if I want to go to college. Well, there's a stigma there that you can't be successful unless you attend a traditional college and get a degree. But with all of these, with enrolling or enlisting, you can have a traditional college experience, or you can enlist and you can have a college experience, or you can go straight to the workforce like Jackson and some of the others that we've talked about, and you can have your college education. So there's more ways to get your education. You can continue your education however you want.
And I guess we should have said this at the beginning, and I apologize for not introducing it as we're wrapping up. Really, our outcomes here in our photos show we do actually talk to a lot of a very diverse background of students. I mean, it's pretty representative of our community, but we have people of all socioeconomic statuses, people of all races and education levels and that sort of thing, coming from households where, financially struggling to keep the lights on, to hungry kids, to students who are coming from very affluent families. And it's really interesting that the conversation is often hardest with that student who you might think has it all together, mm-hmm. or the student whose parents have it all together for them. Mm-hmm. That's often the hardest conversation to have, because that student feels that it has to be college, and it has to be this school, and it has to be this major, and it has to do this, this, and this. Well, the reality is that that's not where you need to go and what you need to do, then it's not the best for you. And I'll talk to students all day long, but I'll defer to Casey and Candace when it comes to talking to parents, because they can be very dogmatic when you're mentioning not going to college. Like, gasp, like my baby has to go to the school. And so be aware of that too as you get into this. Like, you may have a really solid combo with a kid, or I guess I should say students. You'd have a really solid combo with a student, over several weeks, months, whatever. But when it comes time for mom or dad to pull that trigger and make the decision on maybe college isn't right, or maybe it's not this school. What if it is just a community college? Is what a lot of people will say. Or what if community college is the best first, and then we go to the four-year school? What does that look like? And those conversations are hard, but you also have to have them. And being an advocate for your students is ultimately one of the most rewarding things.
Right. So. Absolutely.
Thank y'all. Yeah, greatest ever. Thank y'all so much for joining us today. We do ask that if you want to follow us on social media, we have a Facebook and Instagram account. You can go to Corinth Career Coaching. Those are fairly easy to follow. You should be able to find each and every one. I think that these lovely ladies' Bitmojis are probably the cover photo. That is our bell to dismiss class. I told you we would probably catch one of those while we were here today. On the next slide, we'll actually see our actual contact info. So you can get any of us there. If you call the school, you're going to talk to our nice receptionist. She's super awesome, but the chances of you getting us on the phone throughout the school day, minimal. Shoot us an email, though. It is the 21st century, and we will get back to you as soon as humanly possible, or after we get done talking to whatever student happens to have our ear at the moment. But there's our contact info. Thank y'all so much for joining us. Please do seriously reach out. If you hated the presentation, let us know. If you loved it, let us know. You got questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, whatever. We're here for it, and we're here to help y'all grow. There's no big secret we won't share. We're not the wizard behind the curtain in the Wizard of Oz. We are simply here to be open books and to help students all across our state and country. Closing comments from my ladies?
Thank you for allowing us to be a part of this. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. And we look forward to hearing from you and let us know, if you have something that's working in your district that again, we love to collaborate and share ideas because the student is the absolute reason for us being here.
All right. Thank y'all so much. And we'll close with a Warriors on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Warriors!